Alright, so I want to do a couple compliments for the teachers and the volunteers and the philanthropists who make the world uh, better, who shine perhaps the most of any people. Um, Teachers educate, they impart information and wisdom and knowledge, which is perhaps the greatest thing to improve someone's life is through education and knowledge. Um, I'm not saying necessarily that everything about the school system is perfect, but teachers in general and education itself is one of the most important things there is. Um, Literally all quote unquote lacks is just a lack of information. Uh,
May I have your attention, please? All travelers, if any unknown person attempts to give you any item, including luggage, to transport on your flight, do not accept it and notify airline personnel immediately. Do not leave luggage unattended. All carry-on and checked luggage is subject to search.
See right there, that was a teacher. They were trying to educate us in good and safe procedures. Taking bags from someone else is not a very safe and smart thing. So thank you for the education. But back to like normal teachers, such as in classrooms or even gurus and like spiritual teachers and life coaches and stuff like that. Um, if you want to go like Buddhism, not everyone's Buddhist, but Buddha said that there's three poisons that cause all suffering. He said there's hatred and lust; those are both in the same category. Greed. What did I say? There's greed and lust; those are in the same category. Then there's hatred or aversion, and the worst of them all is ignorance or fear, which creates the other two. So, of all three poisons, ignorance and fear is the worst. And what those are is lack of information. So, what teachers do is they counteract fear and ignorance, which is the source of all suffering. At least according to Buddha, I think most people would understand. That makes a lot of sense. Is when you are lost in the dark or the unknown, you're not acting wisely because you don't have information, and so you sort of live out your lowest, worst qualities. And education is the remedy to that. Uh, when you know that, for instance, spiders, some people are scared of spiders, that spiders don't actually have any muscles in their legs, they're just full of blood, and they just sort of like plop these like blood-filled appendages down, and that's how they walk. They don't actually have muscles, and so it kind of like lessens the fear because you know that they don't have much control over their legs. In my humorous mind, I think it's like they have 8 little boners that they're just plopping onto the ground, and just it kind of makes them a little clumsy. But it's the reality. It's the truth. They have no muscle in their legs. They're just full of blood. Also with sharks, there's like 23 shark deaths or attacks each year, which is like, compared to everyone who swims in the ocean every year, it's like very unlikely that anything bad will happen if you swim in the ocean. Or lightning strikes as well. Like thunder can be very scary when it's happening. But again, most lightning strikes are going to be hitting taller things than you, buildings, trees. Most lightning strikes happen in wide open plains, and so as long as you're not out in an open field, there's a very low chance of you getting hit. Also know the fact that lightning follows the path of least resistance, and so if there's any other path that's easier for it to take, it's not going to get you. And so these like factoids are remedies for fear, ignorance, and lack. And that's what the whole of education is. It's imparting knowledge to align more with reality so that we can feel better and not suffer or live in fear.
The TSA has limited the items
more education. It's nonstop. So yeah, what like the traditional teachers in the schools, they teach kids about like kind of like the way the world works, like what the human history is and what gravity is and what keeps the world spinning. Facts like gravity and how it works, what electromagnetism is, learning other languages of cultures around the world. The whole of the education system is about like it's like an introductory course to the world for kids, and so in that way it's super helpful, imparting information and knowledge, to make people live better lives, to feel better in their own life and to contribute more to the whole society and humanity. Education is amazing. Also, all the spiritual and religious traditions exist today only because of teachers, because of information and knowledge that we learned through lineages, whether it's through the Christian lineage or the Buddhist lineage or the Hindu lineage, whatever it is. It's the passing down of this information and knowledge which helps enlighten people beyond just like having one smart person and it just stops. Like because of education and teaching, it's like one of the great benefits of being a human is that we can have rational or abstract knowledge imparted orally or through writing, and now today through multimedia platforms. Animals, they don't get the benefit of that through language or teaching in the same way. And so humans, we can live an entire lifetime and pass on an entire lifetime of knowledge to someone else in a logical and conscious way, rather than just the DNA programming we pass genetically to our offspring, which has been a huge benefit for us in just the growth of our knowledge base and our ability to do wonders like go to the moon or fly around with wings in airplanes or go hundreds of miles an hour on trains, or have near infinite food all over the world for a population that really started out with a few hundred or thousand people in Africa. I think the number I saw was like the original human population was like 10,000 in sub-Saharan Africa, and because of all this education and knowledge that was passed generation to generation, things always got better. We got rid of polio, we got rid of flus and plagues and viruses because we get information and we fix them. So now we have a population of something like 8 billion from just 10,000 people, all because of education and teachers passing down information. Not just in formal traditional settings, but parents to children and bosses to employees and governmental leaders from today till back in the day with tribes, like people sharing and teaching information, making life better for humans. I sort of gave teachers a lot of talk in this talk, but also volunteers. They know what's most important is human life and light and life itself. Most people work for their family, work for money, and perhaps a little status or reputation amongst peers. But what volunteers do, it's something completely beyond themselves, and working towards like ideals and values and virtues, stuff like that. Beyond any sort of like animalistic like survivalism, like actually like genuinely good people, and focusing on like life itself and like humanity's value and goodness. Yeah, and it doesn't like really matter much the scale of like your volunteerism, like whether you're like at a soup kitchen.
Smoking is permitted in designated areas only. Please refrain from smoking while walking throughout the building.
Yeah, like whether you're at a soup kitchen or whether you're building 10,000 homes for affordable housing, or you're doing peace summits at the United Nations. Like there's all levels of like volunteerism, just like focusing on like humanity or life itself or value or virtues or goodness itself or the divine even. Like volunteerism is like, in a way, like choosing to volunteer is like pure enlightenment. Like you're not focusing on like survival of the self. You're focusing on like an ideal or a virtue in like a universal sense. Like that's literally what volunteerism is. And like such organizations that come to mind are like Salvation Army, one of the biggest ones in the world. Catholic Charities, Habitat for Humanity. So many like environmental ones. One comes to mind is like Mr. B's planted 10 million trees a couple years ago, and I think he keeps like trying to top that, which is amazing. Environmental stewardship and all that. Bill Gates like working on the toilet 2.0 so that little toilet stations can like turn solar energy into poop into energy, which keeps like the energy flowing or something. Just to make like very out there locations be able to have like safe and healthy stations for hygiene and stuff like that. There's literally like infinite ways to volunteer. Even like picking up paper at your local church, like that is, you're not being like compensated for that. Like you're just doing something to help humanity. Like the scale of your contribution, like it doesn't really matter. It's like the valuing of what's important, like life and humanity and goodness itself. These are what shine out in the world. Like when good things are done for good reasons and people just love purely. It's one of the best things there is. And the last thing I'd like to bring up is philanthropists. This is like people who often have worked hard their whole life. Bill Gates comes to mind. Warren Buffett, I think they've pledged like 99% of their fortunes when they die. Not to mention the good work they're doing in the world now. It's often like successful people in the business world who just like, I played the game, I won, and I do care about the stuff, and I want to contribute all of my successes and rewards to the noblest outlets. And often people think like you have to, that's like a certain scale or level of volunteerism, like where you're just like contributing massively to others. But you can be philanthropist in your own life, like donating 10% of your income, or a more abstract thing is donating 10% of your joy. Like if you're a very like joyful person, donating that in some like tangible way to others. Not to brag, but it makes me feel good for my own selfish reasons. Tithing 10% of my income feels really good, and keeping track of that, making sure I'm not like going broke, and I'm also like not totally neglecting, but like always making sure I'm hitting that 10%. But also something more exciting is like tithing my joy. And a tangible way I've found to do that is through my 2 charity organizations, obviously. But something like in day-to-day is just like, I call it Hello 2.0. And that's where you're just like, instead of saying hello to people, like you just say, here's 3 good things about you. And it sort of cuts through a lot of like people in social situations like looking for compliments and like, am I a good enough person, blah, blah, blah. Like, just cutting to the heart of things, like, yes, you're a good person. Here are 3 things that I see as to why you are. And so, like, once you, like, get to the end of, like, what people are looking for, like, just give me some love, man. like just giving them that love, and then like now let's have a real conversation. Like once I've already given you the love that you were looking for, now what's left? What do you want to do? And so I've been really enjoying that, both doing it in like online interactions as well as in real life, replacing all my hellos with 3 good things, and being genuine about it, and not like having a script or like you don't have to like do it to like only people you know really well. Like you can just like look at someone and just like know, like I can tell like these are some things you're probably good at. Like if someone like has like a funny smile, like you probably have a good sense of humor, or like you seem like really genuine, like you don't lie and you tell the truth, or you look like you love people and you like helping and you're generous. Like you can just like, I mean, even science says it's like you know whether you like a person in less than 3 seconds. Like it doesn't take years to know someone. Like you know whether you like someone in 3 seconds. So like just find 3 things that are good about them and say it. Like that's just a simple thing you can do. I call it the Hello 2.0. Yeah, so that's just some thoughts on 3 of perhaps the best kinds of people there are. Again, this is just some compliments of many more I could think of towards teachers, volunteers, and philanthropists. And everyone can be them. You don't have to go to school or bank $1 billion to do any of these things. You can start doing it right now. It's real easy, and it feels perhaps the best of any activity you can do. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks to all those people out there who are doing it. Thank you.